Hello, we're back in the shed with MV Geordie, and only for a little while because MV Geordie has to leave the shed in the next few days to make space for Zephyrus, which is coming in for her summer maintenance. Everything is a bit of a mess right now because we've been moving stuff around coming back from the haulout. Speaking of the haulout, before we get started anything here, we're going to jump back in time and just finish that up briefly. And good Saturday morning to you all, and we're back in the Boatyard. In fact, well, it's just the next day for us, but a week longer for you. So if you were watching last week, we just got the first coat of this beautiful, spectacular easy epoxy topside paint on the boat yesterday, and now I'm just going to give it a light sand with 220 grit, and we'll put another coat on. It is cloudy, but they say no rain. Fingers crossed. Okay, and second coat done. It actually rained for 10 minutes in the middle of it, but we just managed. We were underneath the flare here, and we did okay. It's actually raining again. Non-stop rain. All right.
This stuff is quite strong when you pull on it, which is good. Pretty clean.
All right then, well, it's the wrap up. We're launching in a few hours, and I just wanted to celebrate with Lady Zephyrus for a bit of this fantastic job she's done of this absolutely, I mean, what a shape we've done, yeah. But I can tell you,
Smooth like fiberglass.
don't say that. But it is very, very smooth. Anyway, it's impressive.
As soon as we touch water, the rain will stop for the
rain will
summer.
stop, and it'll be sun for the rest of the summer. Anyway, well, congratulations. Big hugs. You did a great job. Boat looking absolutely fantastic. Okay, just a quick run through the various products because many of you have asked. All right, the epoxy that went in when I was sealing up the bleeders was Git Rot, which is a thin epoxy. However, clear penetrating epoxy sealer CPS would have been my favorite if I could have got it. The actual bleeders and the butt joints that I sealed up, I actually sealed up with Sikaflex 291, and the reason I did that is because I can be sure it's absolutely filling the void really well. Using a hard epoxy filler for that doesn't seem to work as well for me, and I've had tremendous success with 291 in seams that are large enough that still have to flex somewhat. And in fact, in the previous haul out, some of the larger open seams I paid or sealed with 291, and not one of them did I have to give any work to this time. All right. Other fairing and holes I had to fill that were stable, I did with epoxy filler. I used a West system with the slow cure, as well as the 420 filler, which is the lightest, or one of the lightest fillers, easy to sand, very easy to work with. Okay, that works pretty well. Bottom paint is, as I've mentioned more than a few times, Micron CSC CA. Which is the first time we've used this. We've used Micron CSC in the past, but as I mentioned, I do believe the CA is the Canadian version of it. There had been some discussion on the internet that it was very hard to work with, very thick and dried very quickly. We found it just fine. I'm super excited that this is as good as the regular Micron CSC. The boot stripe is plain old Petit easy epoxy, and you saw how I basically put that on first, so that I could just tape the boot stripe, paint up to it from below, paint down to it from above, and just pull the tape on the boot stripe, and it's done. The topside paint is also Petit Easy Epoxy in white, and I love this stuff. 2 full coats on this boat, and it didn't even use a gallon. And there's a lot of surface area. Rolled, no tipping. Classically with painting a wooden boat, you would roll and tip, which means roll it on to get uniform coverage, and then take a paintbrush and gently drag it through the paint to get a really nice finish. But I really don't expect to have a finish any nicer than that. So no need to tip the stuff at all. In some places where I applied a primer, I used the Petit Easy Prime, which I find to be an excellent product as well. Okay, sanding. I've said it over and over again, that Bosch heavy duty sander, and for all these things I'll put links down below, by the way. That Bosch sander is absolutely fantastic. It is a demon of a workhorse. It is not light. For those of you with deeper pockets, perhaps the Festool Super 6-inch sander might be really nice, but I can't afford it. Sandpaper, I stuck with Abernet, which I've been using in the past with the Abernet pad. That gives an excellent dust extraction. The 3M Cubitron extraction sandpaper, I have some, I was gifted some. I want to do a side-by-side comparison with the Abernet, but I wanted to stick with the Abernet for this job because I knew it went really well, and dust extraction in a boatyard is very important because, well, they'll make you tent the whole boat if you're not doing a good job of it. Okay, I think that pretty much sums up, unless I've forgotten something. A few more things to sort out, and the travel lift will be here shortly, and we'll plunk her back in. Back to work here. Okay, as I mentioned in the intro, Geordie has to be out of the shed in a couple of days so that we can bring Zephyrus in for her summer maintenance, or at least topside maintenance, stuff that has to be done in the shed. We have a limited amount of time left in this shed because it's on the market and has to go by July 15th. Now, we haven't had many nibbles yet, so if you're interested in a 35-foot shed in Genoa Bay, British Columbia, please give us a shout. Okay, so first things first, I have to wire up the windlass so that it's functional. And then all the remaining project is to get some chain for it. And I have to create some big blocks underneath here for the Samson post. It's currently only bolted through to the plywood, which really isn't adequate. And I'm gonna do that with this nice big chunk of 2-inch sapele. So let's get started with that. Well, because this block is going to be in the overheads of the forward head, I'd like it to be something interesting. So I'm actually going to make it a perfect circle, although it crosses a beam. So I'm going to make 2 semicircles, and I think that'll look as nice as anything could look. I think you know what I mean. Anyway, let's get going here. First day, no bandage on the finger, and it's actually healing very, very well, although there's nerves are really messed up. It feels very strange. The nail side is a little uglier. I won't let you have a close look at that. Okay, let's turn this into something pretty. Okay, so I'm just going to use this piece to simulate the beam. It's 1.5 inches wide, so roughly 3/4 to the middle of it. And let's draw a nice arc with my compass. So I'm just going to set it right here, set it on that 3/4, make sure it lands over here, make sure, oh, it's a little big. Let's make that a little smaller. So I'll just draw this arc right on there. Leave that pin in place, put the other one, line it up with the same edge, and draw the same arc. All right. This is definitely safety goggle work. And then okay, they're about as perfect as I need them to be. And now for a nice uniform roundover. Maybe some lubrication for the poor old. Yeah. A little of this in here. I'm not saying this is ideal, but it'll help. Now to bolt these to the beam that runs through here, I'm going to use a couple of lag bolts, and I can't really run them directly opposite each other or they'll hit each other, and it doesn't matter really where I move because it's a perfect circle, they'll always hit each other. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to run the hole in on a slight angle so that they will pass each other quite nicely. This eventually will have a bung in it, so it won't matter in the least. Okay, so basically here on a bit of an angle up so that when I'm inside I can get the wrench and drill on this relatively easily, but enough room that I can put a bung here eventually. Okay. Absolutely no reason to oil these because where this is going is in need of a lot of attention, so it'll get that attention when it gets some attention. All right, let's go. And here we are on the beam in question. You can see why there's no urgency to make this little piece of wood look great because, well, there's a lot of work to be done under here. Here is the official number and weight that I mentioned to you before when I was talking about some fasteners from above. I want to be able to preserve this and be able to see it. It had been half covered up with a previously insulated overhead and I certainly didn't want any bolts coming through here. So I'm not quite sure I'm going to do this because it's very, very close to the end of the side of the deck, but I think that deserves being preserved in one way or another. These beams are Douglas fir, and they have a nice bead on it, so in time I think I can make this quite pretty. Not quite sure what I'll be doing under here, but anyway, in the meantime, let's get this on so we have structure for that samson post. Let's tighten it up a little and centered right there like that. Making this a perfect circle. I can see that the old cleat wasn't dead center. Ironically, I'll be sitting on the toilet here for years to come looking up at this going, dang, couldn't I get that perfect? Right there. A little butyl under there. Okay, so let's get this thing wired up. Okay, so there are two studs on the bottom. One is for forward, one is for reverse. The ground comes through the case, so you basically just attach the ground to the bottom of one of these bolts. Everything I need to make up some nice cables for the windlass, including a brand new windlass solenoid. I can't remember the exact internal wiring of this. This would work either for a reversing wire or a paired wire, but anyway, we'll figure that out when we get to it. Bunch of nice lugs, some nice double-aught cable, and a nice cheap made in China Amazon lug crimping tool. Let's get going. Okay, so I'll strip back a little of this. There we go. This is double-aught cable, and make sure you get all the strands in the lug. All right, here we go. Release. And that, my folks, is a crimp that is not going to fail. Very nice. And down it goes. And this one will come over and under there. Actually, that works quite neatly. And some nice big gobs of butyl tape on here to seal this off like a gland. Now, I got some comments from the last video when I made this thing about various fasteners and various sealing techniques, and people were concerned that I didn't actually seal, let's say with varnish or something, down all the holes and down these holes. And that is because I believe in one line of seal. In other words, if moisture is going to get past a first line, well, if you have another line behind it, all you're going to do is trap moisture between the two. So if any moisture got through here, a tiny drop here and there, I want it to soak into the wood and then be able to be drawn out and not stay hard against that part of the wood for a long period of time. Now this is the exception to that, of course, because this is going to be open to the environment. This is going to need to be sealed very well. I'm not doing it yet because I don't really know how this is going to work. The other concern some viewers had, or at least one, is that I was using galvanized fasteners. And of course, this boat is all galvanized. There is no silicone bronze in the frame and structure of the boat. In fact, and there's no stainless steel. It is all fastened with galvanized bolts and screws. So I have to stay with the same metal throughout. It is very convenient that it is the cheapest possible fastener. This boat, like almost all the other boats I've seen, put the windlass solenoid in the chain locker. In other words, ahead of this bulkhead. And that is just a massive chunk of frustration for anyone who ever has to service this. So I will always have the solenoid in this space in some way or form. Now, of course, this will be the forward head at some point in this boat, so this might end up in a little cabinet or something. But for now, it's just going to be somewhere I have easy access to it. Well, for now, I have no idea which direction is which. Let's just wire it up one way or the other, and we can change things afterwards. There we go. Before we zip all this together, let's test it, shall we? And the moment we've all been waiting for? Let's see. Love it, love it, love it. Welcome to the Travels Geordie Beer of the Week, coming to this week from the cozy cockpit of MV Geordie here in Genoa Bay. And we're just wrapping up. This is actually our last day in the shed.
Yeah.
And it's so glorious. We're going to be out on the mooring bow in a little bit. Anyway, let's get straight to the beer. What do you got?
I've got, it's called Pack It In, Pack It Out. And it's from Souk Brewing in British Columbia. And it's a classic West Coast IPA.
And we have to thank the good folks at the craft beer store in Sydney, British Columbia, because they very kindly called me in and said, hey, come get a few craft beers because I like what you're doing. So thank you ever so much. And if you're in Sydney, check out the craft beer store right down by the water. All right. Yes, go ahead. It's been a crazy week, hasn't it?
Yes.
Starting out still on the haul out and finishing up getting some stuff done here, and in between getting to bring Zephyrus back up here, which you got to do some of the driving.
I did, yeah.
The good folks got to see that.
Yeah.
Cheers to craft brewing in Sydney and their gift of the something IPA from Souk Brewery.
Pack it in, pack it out.
Pack it in. Cheers. I like that. You don't like that. Andrea is not a hoppy IPA
I'm not
girl.
an IPA fan.
No, not really. All right, but I love it. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to finish that up, I'll look after that for you.
You can have this part.
Excellent. Okay, well, we have to thank last week's, or at least congratulate last week's winner of a t-shirt, who is...
Cody Lazon, 6003.
Well, congratulations, Cody. Send us off an email at swag@travelswithgeordie.com, and we'll make sure you get your shirt. Well, the chain is the only thing we need left to be able to anchor the boat. Everything has gone so well on the foredeck. The windlass is working. I think that windlass is basically new. When I bought it, it appeared to be used, but it's in such good condition. The bearings in it are just silent. Anyway, it's really, really nice. I know that's terribly entertaining for you, but it does mean we get to anchor safely, and that's what matters a lot. In the meantime, we can moor safely because, as you know, Zephyrus is now out on the mooring ball out here, and we're going to swap tomorrow morning and get a bunch of work done on Zephyrus over the next little while. Busy, busy. So the word of the week this week will be
chain.
Chain, because that's what's holding us up to actually be able to go cruising. Cheers to you all.
Cheers.
See you next week. As well as 210 filler. 410? Anyway, you think I'd know.